SBR Videos is sponsored by Sports Cash System. Click on the link below for more information. Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're talking right now with Steve from CollegeFootballWinning.com, who has a great record at his service this year. He's going to give us a second pick on a game from Week 11 in college football. Steve, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me back, Peter.
All right, before we get into Nebraska, Michigan, give a little plug for CollegeFootballWinning.com. I know you went, what'd you go, 6-2, 3-1, 9-3 this past week?
3-1 in our algorithmic picks, which brings us to beating the spread this year, 2013, at a rate of 69.23%. And that is putting us on pace to have our best year ever if we continue on. So we hope people want to join us at CollegeFootballWinning.com. All we do is college football betting analysis. If they go to our website, they can join us putting in coupon code SBR20, and they'll get 20% off of any membership that we're offering.
Okay, sounds very, very good. Nebraska-Michigan is the second game that you chose to discuss this week, and Michigan's a 6.5-point home favorite. Total's 57.5, and both these teams, pretty uninspiring. I wouldn't necessarily want to bet on either of them, but I'd love to bet against both of them. Michigan, of course, off the rivalry loss to Michigan State, where they got beaten pretty soundly, and they just, in general, look like they just kind of suck, kind of an unreliable team. So definitely my first instinct is to fade them as this kind of a favorite. On the other hand, though, Nebraska, they're not looking that inspiring either. They've played a very weak schedule, and against any of the decent teams they played, they wilted badly. They lost on the road to Minnesota by 11, got blown out at home by UCLA. So all things considered, I think I'd lean Nebraska plus 6.5. Is that what you like here?
That is not what I like here.
Okay.
And let me give you my reasoning here. These teams, at least from a betting perspective, are similar teams. And let me explain how they're similar. Both of these teams do not play well on the road and have not played well on the road recently. And I mean in the last 2 to 3 years. Specifically for Nebraska, since they lost their defensive coordinator, Carl Pelini, and we know we could do a whole different show on now resigned coach Carl Pelini from Florida Atlantic. That's a different matter. The fact is, he was a good defensive coordinator at Nebraska, and Nebraska has been hurting since his departure. Now, on the road, as I said, these guys are bad. At home, both these teams are quite good at home. So how good are we talking here? Bo Pelini at home, the guy has won 66.67% of his games against the spread at home, and yet he is just 20% against the spread away since the departure of his brother, defensive coordinator Carl Pelini. So that's obviously a terrible against the spread record away. Now Michigan, under third-year head coach Brady Hoke, they are 35.71% against the spread away. That's terrible. But they are 68.42% against the spread at home. And that includes being 4-1 against the spread this year. They've won 19 straight games straight up at home in the Big House under Brady Hoke. So two very different teams. So if someone is trying to judge Michigan by the way they play away for this home game, they're making a really bad analytical error there. Same thing with Nebraska. You're trying to judge Nebraska the way they're going to play away by including the games they played at home. You're making a bad mistake. Michigan is 1-5 straight up and 0-5-1 against the spread when they're held under 3 rushing yards per carry under Brady Hoke. Now, Nebraska's rushing defense, they rank 75th versus the FBS, and they've allowed 6.04 yards per carry in away games since defensive coordinator Carl Pelini left the team, and that was the end of 2011. Now, Michigan is 14-0 straight up and 9-5 against the spread when they rush for at least 5 yards per carry under Brady Hoke. The fact that you can get Michigan at home under a touchdown right here, that is definitely the side that we like here.
All right, but what about the fact that they only barely beat Akron and didn't even cover 6.5 points against Akron at home?
And that is their one against the spread loss at home so far this season. And that, when you're a team that was as highly touted as Michigan was entering the season, that was definitely a look-ahead spot for them. So
All right.
I think based on the 5 games that they've played at home, we can see that one as an aberration. That's an anomaly.
Okay, very insightful analysis as always from Steve from CollegeFootballWinning.com, like in Michigan, -6.5. Thanks, Steve. Talk to you next week.
Thank you, Peter. Talk to you next week.